Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Tuesday, February 23rd. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Minnesota game is in 191 days, the game against Michigan in 277 days. It is starting to feel like winter might be on the way out here in Ohio, but it is the heart of 7-on-7 season in other parts of the country. This past weekend was the Battle 7v7 tournament in Glendale, Arizona, right across the street from the stadium where the Fiesta Bowl is played. Andrew Morgan was there to cover it for Buckeye Scoop. Andrew, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So there were several Ohio State targets there that I wanted to get a little scouting report on. The first is Kyion Grayes. He's a wide receiver from Arizona who could very well be the next player to commit to the Buckeyes. It sounded like he was working mainly in the slot over the weekend. Can you share a scouting report on what you saw out of him?
Yeah, so exclusively in the slot for the past two tournaments out here in Arizona, playing with Tucson Turf. I think he will project to be a slot at Ohio State. I know Coach Hartline has been talking to him about that quite a bit. With the outside receivers pretty much being full, I mean, a lot of options there. I think he truly is a slot, and so he's been working on that a lot. Really good when it comes to slants and short comebacks and things like that. But as we saw in the fall, Chandler, his high school, they used him as a deep threat out there as that like X receiver, and made some big plays out there as well. So it'll be interesting to see where they put him, but I do think he ends up in the slot.
Yeah, Ohio State does move their guys around sometimes after they get there, but yeah, it sounds like he's trending in that direction anyway. And he is planning a trip to Columbus very soon. And with the dead period still going on, that means he's taking a cross-country trip on his own dime at a time when he can't meet with the player in person with coaches or do a lot of the other stuff you'd normally do on an unofficial visit. So, what did he have to say about Ohio State and about that trip?
So he has had it planned for a while now. And he was telling me he just wants to get out there and see the campus. It's going to be completely self-guided because of the dead period. So he just wants to get a feel for the environment. He said he wanted to come out here in the winter or the tail end of winter to see, the weather is very different from Arizona and from what he's used to growing up in Southern California. So that's the main reason he wanted to come out, is just to see. I know he wants to commit before his senior year, and with the dead period being extended, that's going to be tough now. But he also commented he really wants to get inside the shoe. He really wants to see the stadium if he can. I'm not sure if that'll be possible, but that was something big that he really wanted to do while out in Columbus.
Yeah, they usually have, at least during the week, if he's down there on a Friday, at least during the week, they usually have a gate on the west side of the stadium open that you have to sign in, but you can get into the stadium. So that he may be able to make that happen. And just in case you're wondering about the weather forecast for this weekend, after weeks and weeks and weeks of sub freezing temperatures, it looks like it's going to be in the high 40s. So the weather will be not wonderful, but not any worse than it was really when Tony Gerderman and I were out there for the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona a couple of years ago. So that's that will probably cooperate a little bit for Ohio State. Another player to watch at the weekend, over the weekend for you, was safety Xavier Nwankpa. And I'm just going to spell the last name because people are going to go, I can't find anyone whose last name starts with a W. It's Nwankpa, but it's pronounced Nwankpa. He is from Iowa. He is a top 100 player in the nation, close to a 5-star prospect, according to 247. I think they've got him in the mid-30s overall. How did Xavier do this weekend?
Xavier played really well. Probably the best tournament I've seen him play. He was out here playing for a different team a few weeks ago, but he came out to Arizona because of his relationship with Kyion Grayes. They've been talking ever since the fall when both of them got offers. Pretty close. I believe one was offered in September and the other a few weeks later. They've gotten really close, and Keon invited him out here to play sevens. I'm not sure how big sevens is in Iowa, but they played on the same team this weekend for the first time, and he played really well. I think 7-on-7 is a lot different. He said he was focusing a lot more on his man coverage, trying to get better in the offseason. And I think he projects as a box safety. You can tell just being out there, he really wants to just come down and hit people. And and I think he actually got flagged one time for pretty much tackling a kid. A little excessive, but he's definitely a box safety at the next level. Really physical kid, and like you said, he's working on his man coverage a lot. And I think he's a kid that might even be able to play as an outside backer, depending on certain personnel packages and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see where Ohio State lines him up, but really physical guy and great relationship with Kyion. They stayed together. Kyion invited him over for the weekend. So he flew in, I think it was Friday afternoon, stayed with Kyion at his house, and they've been talking for months and months now. So they're really close.
That's always an interesting part of these recruitments where Kyion Grayes certainly seems like he's trending towards Ohio State. He's doing all of the things that he would be doing if he was close to committing to Ohio State. So, if you were going to put Kyion Grayes in the Ohio State pile, that would certainly probably help them with Xavier as well, if they're pretty good friends. Did you get a chance to ask him about where things stand with him and the Buckeyes and other schools that he's maybe looking at?
Yeah, so he released his top 12 on January 1st. And the top schools that he's really talking to among, other than Ohio State, Iowa and Iowa State, two local schools. Iowa State being where his dad went to school. He was a track star there and holds numerous records. And then he's also been talking to Clemson a lot. He's a guy that's going to be challenging to pull to Ohio State just because of those hometown ties around Iowa State, and obviously Clemson going after him. But I think he's close for sure. And I think if Grayes continues to trend on that path and commits, I think Xavier would follow shortly after, just because of how close they are. I mean, really, they were together all weekend side by side. So
something that came up in your interviews with both of those guys was the group text that they're in with a number of Buckeye commits.
Yes.
So what are they talking about in that group text, and why is that something that's important in their recruitments?
So there is a 2022 group chat full of Ohio State commits and targets, and CJ Hicks has pretty much led that, and he is recruiting a lot. That group chat is pretty active. Both of them mentioned it when I was talking to them, and they've just really gotten to know each other and helped each other out. And obviously, CJ's and the others are trying to get them to come to Columbus, really recruiting both of them. So that group chat is interesting. I didn't hear about it before this weekend, so I was actually really surprised by it. But it's cool. It's cool that guys that aren't even signed are already out there trying to recruit future teammates. So
those two guys are not yet Ohio State commits. There was one guy there who is an Ohio State commit, Jair Brown, cornerback. What'd you see out of Jair this weekend?
I really like him in the slot. He played for Bootleggers out of Louisiana. Coming from, that was his original home state before he moved. I really like him in the slot. Didn't really play against a super top tier wide receiver that I can remember, but did play well. He was really good. They played a lot of man coverage, and he was good, really good in man coverage. I'm not really sure where he stands. Obviously, he's committed, and with a couple other defensive backs coming in, I'm not sure how full that DB room will get. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes, or what changes might happen with him. But he was wearing an Ohio State shirt on Sunday, day 2 of the tournament, which is a good sign.
Any other players who jumped out to you? Those are kind of the main Ohio State names to watch. Any other players who jumped out to you that might be people, someone that people should keep an eye on or know about?
Another defensive back, a lot of Ohio State DBs there, or Ohio State DB targets. Zion Branch, the Bishop Gorman safety. Very similar player to Xavier Nwankpa. and that he's probably going to be a box safety, really big. I think he's listed at like 6'4", 6'5", and he's definitely put on weight since the fall. He's actually getting ready to play in a spring season. So this was his last 7-on-7 tournament because they're getting ready to suit up in Nevada. But yeah, another box safety type, maybe moves to outside linebacker at some point. But again, just a really physical and a really big defensive back. So I personally really liked him this weekend.
And you mentioned he's from Nevada. He's from Bishop Gorman, as you said. That's, if you're wondering, hey, how are they going to pull a kid out of Nevada? Well, that was Tate Martell and Haskell Garrett's high school. That is right. A high school that has produced a lot of talent over the years. So that's just something to keep in mind. Finally, you are just starting to break into the scouting world. And I always feel like when, if I go talk somewhere or, everyone wants to know, so how can I be a sports writer? So for those who don't know, you are still making quite a name for yourself, but you're also still in high school. So you are literally in the process of breaking into the scouting world right now. What has it been like for you to try to get started? And what advice would you offer to other people who might be thinking about getting into that line of work?
Yeah, so I got my start out here in Arizona working high school sports. One day I just completely shot an email over to the editor of a site out here, and they decided to take a chance on me. Had I not sent that email, I probably wouldn't be where I was right now, or where I am right now. So I'm thankful that they were able to take a chance on me and really give me a chance to develop and get some experience under my belt. So yeah, anybody wanting to become a sports writer, break into scouting, anything like that, just give it a shot. I mean, message as many people as you can, and one of them is going to give you a shot. If you really look up to someone, reach out, ask for advice, anything like that. I remember a couple of years ago, actually first meeting you in Nebraska. Before that was probably 2017, maybe
17. Yes.
2017 in Nebraska. That was my first Buckeye game, not in Arizona. And I remember asking both you and Tony just about advice, because I knew at that point I was only 12, 13 at that point. But I knew I had a good feeling that that's what I wanted to do. So I remember asking you, and I mean, really, here I am today, just still trying to grind and get better and move forward each day. So it's been fun.
So yes, write that down. Shoot your shot. You never, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, as they say.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you do have to love football. The last time I saw you in person was, I believe, at the Cheez-It Bowl, which is a very niche slice of the football pie. But if you can watch Air Force play a Mike Leach Wazoo team, like there's a very narrow slice of the pie that's like, oh man, I have to see that in person. So, Andrew, let people know where they can find you on Twitter and where else they can find your work.
Yeah, so Andrew Morgan on Twitter at AJ Morgan Writes, WRITES. You can follow me there. I'm currently working high school sports out here in Arizona, but we'll see where that takes me in the future. I would love to eventually be back in Columbus in a couple of years, maybe, and working in Ohio State beat. So, yeah, that's where you can find me. I mean, I'm just trying to continue the grind and make the most out of every day.
And you can find Andrew's work from over the weekend at BuckeyeScoop.com. He had articles on both Xavier and Keon on the site. Lots of really good insight, good coverage, nice photos, good stuff. So make sure you check that out at BuckeyeScoop.com. Also, make sure you check out all of our great podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Spreaker, wherever fine podcasts are sold. You can find them. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. Just had another episode of Gives in the Bank that I believe dropped yesterday that Bill Green and Mark Givler dropped. They have had a couple really interesting episodes talking about some of the inside stories of recruiting and looking ahead and ranking players in Ohio. And I mean, really, really good stuff recently. And you can find all of our other great podcasts there as well. Tony Gerderman and I should be releasing a new episode of Buckeye Weekly later today. And we're going through our season positional previews. So we're going to be talking about another position group this week. And And we usually do defense on Tuesdays, one positional group, and then an offensive positional group on Thursday. So you'll have that to look forward to as well. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.